Hello, my friends. Hope you're all doing well and wishing you a very happy Easter Monday. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down my top 20 best-selling and March staff pick track from Emotion Array. I was really stoked to get a little shout out from them in their newsletter, and also really nice to see my friend and co-host of the Make Music Income podcast, Eric Copeland, get a little shout out as well for his Easter themed track. He was one of the March winners, and I believe he got a little bonus for that, so big congrats to him. All right, so before I get into this, I should mention that track breakdowns like the one I'm about to show you here, this is something that I do regularly in the Production Music Academy, amongst the many other benefits that come with membership. And all the membership tiers currently are discounted throughout this entire week. So starting today and ending on Sunday, April 24th. Membership starts as low as $5 a month, and the master tier, which comes with access to absolutely everything, including all the courses, the personal feedback, and all the community benefits, of course, is currently only $20 a month. There's absolutely no long-term commitment. You can find all those links below. Join the party. The members that we have in there currently are absolutely killing it with the monthly challenges. And it's just been incredibly inspiring for me to see the members grow and develop as music producers. And I should also say that I'm producing a ton of fresh new content and courses in the months ahead. So just a quick shameless plug for the Academy before I get into this track. Links are all below. Check that out. And in the meantime, let's get into it. Okay, so basically this track consists of about 9 basic elements. So where this track started was basically a 4-chord progression, and I have this progression here laid out over 8 bars. It's 4 repeating chords with a slight variation on the last 4 bars. Using a combination of Omnisphere's analog tremolo piano, Native Instruments' Noir piano, and a Senfine ambient piano, that progression sounds like this. So that's where this track started, and as you can hear, it's sort of like a feel-good, uplifting type progression. From there, I wanted to figure out what kind of stylistic approach I wanted to take with this track, and that's very much determined, at least initially, by the drums. And if we take a look at our drums group here, you'll see that combined with our percussion, it's about 4 or 5 layers here. And the drums are a combination of loops, this modern soul and R&B kit from Excellent Audio, Addictive Drums. I'm also using UJam's Groovemate 1 here for a percussion loop. Altogether, the drums sound like this. So very straight ahead, kick, snare, kind of disco vibe there with some really important percussion layers to kind of give it a little bit more energy. And the drum vibe is pretty well constant throughout the whole track. There's a few sections where there's like a stop, and I've added in a few transitional sort of like drum fill type things here when we have these little gaps where the drums stop here, and it sounds like this. And those types of transitions are just so important in tracks like these, just to kind of break up the energy momentarily and provide a little bit of interest moving in and out of certain sections of the track. From there, I decided to throw down a little like funky guitar part, which is just an 8-bar riff that is repeated pretty much throughout the entire track here, which sounds like this. Those are 2 separate parts that are playing the same thing, of course, and they're panned slightly left and right just to give it a bit more stereo spread. And I recorded those with my Fender Jazzmaster guitar. I also snuck in like some very subtle Firebird plucks in here, which are pretty low in the mix, but they kind of add a little bit of reinforcement for the guitar. So kind of giving it a bit of a corporate feel there, but ultimately I decided that I didn't really want those Firebird plucks to be front and center in the mix. Again, they're just kind of like backups. Once I had the guitar part dialed down, it was all about finding that bass line, and this bass line that I came up with, which is playing quite an important role in the mix and kind of driving the energy of the track forward in a big way.
So super busy, funky bass line, and as always, use my trusty Squire bass to lock in that bass line. So those are the core elements of the track, and that's what I came up with first, and just kind of locked it into an 8-bar loop. Altogether, they sound like this. And essentially what I did was turn that 8-bar loop into a full track, figured out what my arrangement was going to be, and then I started adding decorations. So going through some of these decorative layers, the first thing I wanted to tackle was adding a bit more movement to these chords. So I got 3 arpeggio layers here, making use of some of my Arturia V collection here. This is the Prophet, the Mini Moog, and the Jupiter. Together they sound like this. The Prophet layer alone is kind of an interesting patch. It has this really kind of noisy, pointed attack, and combined with the drum layer, it actually kind of sounds like a hi-hat. I'm also using a few extra synth layers down here to help those piano chords kind of explode and feel a lot bigger and a lot more expansive. So combining Arturia's DX7 and Jupiter 8 here, we got these big fat chords. And I also added kind of a supplementary arpeggiated patch here using Spitfire's Aperture Strings library here. It sounds like this. As you can hear, these layers are being put through a bit of sidechain compression, and there's a few other groups that are being bussed into that sidechain compression as well. I'll get back to that. Moving on to another decorative group here, I have all of these really interesting and tasty one-shots that I pulled from Splice. I chopped them all up, and I've kind of sprinkled them across the 8-bar progression that I came up with. And they're basically a combination of vocal one-shots and guitar loops that I just kind of chopped up. On their own, they sound like this. So sort of a little weird to hear on their own, but you'll see in a second here that they really fit the context of the chord progression, and they add a lot of really cool ear candy to the whole track. Last 2 layers here are the melody, basically the top line melody. For this melody, I'm using Straylight's throwback piano patch. I'm using and 2 DX7 patches. Melody sounds like this. And I'm also using an extra electric guitar layer that I recorded to reinforce that melody. And the electric guitar reinforcement kind of helps the track, lean more into like the indie rock sort of vibe. So those vocal shots and these chord layers here are being bussed into this group called Bounce, which is just my Wolf compressor, which is being sidechained to a kick. On its own, it sounds like this. And taking that approach for tracks like this that are really, like kind of simple kick, snare, pattern on the drums is really effective. It kind of gives it like almost an electronic vibe, but overall just kind of gives it that big pumping energy, which I felt like really suited the vibe of this track. For transition effects, I kept it pretty simple. For this track, it's just basically, 3 different samples. One is 2 basic cymbal swells and some chimes. Throwing all those elements together in the mix, this is pretty much the most climactic section of the track here, and it sounds like this. There's a few little tension building transition effects here I forgot to mention, like this pumping riser and this like classic riser here combined together. In terms of the plugins that I'm using on these groups, pretty much, the usual suspects. Got a lot of, a bit of EQ, Wolf compressor, RC20, using the decapitator for a bit of saturation, Valhalla vintage reverb, and the mastering chain is basically SSL bus compression followed by a bit of tape saturation from Goodhertz, a bit of Gullfoss, and the Ozone 9. And that's it. Real simple track, just meant to be sort of a feel-good, high-energy, accessible track. I could kind of envision this being in lots of different types of content. Anything from, whatever, travel vlogs to advertisements, highlight reels, of some kind. Maybe it definitely has that accessible vibe to it, which, I think is one of the reasons it did well on Motion Array.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate you all. Hope you're doing well out there. And if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord server, check out the Make Music Income podcast, and of course, take advantage of the discounted membership for the Academy. Again, all those links are down below. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.